Thanks for joining for our next episode of the Modicon user group. Today, we're going to talk about artificial intelligence, AI. And unless you have your head under a rock someplace, you know that AI is touching everybody everywhere. And it's pretty amazing stuff. And this technology is moving. I've had a chance to take a look at some of this technology, and you're going to have a chance to take a look at it today. It's nothing short of amazing. And in our field, in the automation, in my opinion, and in yours probably soon, you're going to say that it's absolutely game changing. It's going to change the way we do automation business probably forever. I've been in this business now for 35 years, and I always wonder, how did that happen? How did it go by so fast? But it's kind of amazing. The stuff that we did, even 5 years ago is going to change a lot. So, but first we have a pretty exciting agenda here today, right? So first we're going to talk about a little bit about the Modicon user group and what's coming up with us. We're going to talk about Grant Van Hermert's going to talk about the PLC update, and then we're going to get right into the meat. And we're going to try and do this quickly and then get right into the meat of the AI stuff. Towards the back end of the AI presentation, we're going to go live with the software, and you're going to see it live, quite frankly. And it's pretty amazing stuff. So let's go ahead and continue. One thing I wanted to tell everyone, all our customers, and you'll hear a lot about this in the coming months, we are, Schneider Electric every couple of years has a summit, innovation summit. It's coming to the United States in 2025. We'll be in Las Vegas in November, which is awesome. And 2024 was in France, China, Colombia, Vietnam, Hong Kong, and Turkey. And this show kind of goes around the world. It showcases everything of Schneider Electric. The cool thing is that we've gotten approved for us to do a Modicon user group presentation and hands-on training at the event. And so we're actually hoping that you guys would be able to join and be interested in joining this thing. It's no cost to you other than to get there. And we want to train you on our latest and greatest technology. So one of the things, this particular presentation is going to have a little bit of feedback. And so I'm going to start with my first poll. And forgive me here because we're kind of using this new polls thing here. So let me open up this here and launch the poll. So basically, if the content, this over here, do you guys, Grant, do you see the poll? Did it come up?
Yes, we can.
You see it. All right, good. So I can't move the box for some reason. Okay, so if the content were interesting, would you be interested in joining the Modicon user group in Las Vegas? Trying to get a poll of our customers and their interest in joining us there. So I'll leave that open for a couple of minutes. If you guys can take a look at that, that would be great. Modicon user group today. This is we kept to our core. We wanted to keep our meetings about these items that are over here. While this particular item is going to talk about PLCs, AI is really going to permeate into every business that we do when it comes to automation and the factory floor. And so today we're going to talk mainly about PLC and PLC programming. You've seen this before. All of these links will be put into the chat. We have a Modicon user group. My team puts together videos to make our stuff easier to use. Bookmark it on YouTube for yourself, and you can always search out a video if you're looking to learn something. Connect with me on LinkedIn. I only post automation related items, things that I think that our customers in my 35 years of experience would be interested in hearing about. And in most cases, it's webinars like this, or it might be an article on a specific technology. But anyway, connect with me there. I'll put my link in there. This webinar is being recorded. We intend to post it on YouTube, and I'll post it on my LinkedIn page once it's complete. Please give us like a week, 2 weeks in order for that to happen. It's got to go through our marketing team. Direct your questions today to the Q&A box as opposed to the chat. We're checking both, but the Q&A allows us to keep the answers and the questions and the answers together. If you want to know more after this video, please email me and we can have somebody contact you, myself or somebody else contact you. Just let me know what you want to talk about. And then we also have a survey at the very, very end, a LinkedIn, excuse me, MS Forms survey, where we just want to know, how do we do today? Is this stuff interesting to you? And if you want to know more about something, you have to leave your name and number so we can contact you, because it's anonymous. All of these are anonymous polls. So let's go ahead, Grant. I'm going to go ahead and close the other poll. If you can go ahead and take over, that'll be great. Maybe you want to introduce yourself first?
Yeah, my name is Grant Van Hamert. I am the Senior Offer Manager in the United States for the ID pack, or the main PLC line, most of the stuff that you guys are using from day to day. And so here's kind of an update of what we've got going on. And we've got 4 things we want to talk about, one a little bit more in depth. But I do want to say that due to the timing of this, you are actually being exposed to this before you've even had a chance to train our sales and our distributor people. So you may run into a situation where you go and say, hey, I want to have more information than this, and they may look at you strange, and that's just because you guys are getting it first as it comes out right off the presses. So I want to talk about 4 different items here. We've got a new 16-slot rack, BMX style, coming out this quarter. We've got PRP redundancy, some enhancements to Control Expert, as well as a new product line that we're really excited about, Edge IO NTS, and that's where I'm going to spend most of the time here. I'm going to do it quick because AI is the point of the meeting, so this is really kind of abbreviated. So let's talk about the. Why is my thing not working? Okay. Let's talk about the 16-slot rack. It is a BMX style, which means it doesn't have any Ethernet. But one of the things I want to let you know is our 40-watt power supply is still the largest power supply we have. So to be honest with you, if you decide to take a 16-slot rack and load this thing up with 16 analog cards, the 40-watt power supply is not going to be able to power it. So I want to let you know of that gotcha before you get gotcha'd. And so we are actually loading this part into our system now. So when I say it's available first quarter 2025, it is coming really quick. Could be through the process in 2 to 3 weeks, might be 6 weeks or so. I have no control over it once I submit that. It gets done when it gets done. The shielding kit is coming in the second half, so that will allow you, as with their other shielding kits, to be able to terminate your analog shields right there, as opposed to elsewhere in the panel. PRP redundancy. Now, if you don't know what PRP redundancy is, I'm not going to go over it. I would suggest you Google it, read about it. It is a standard. And so our existing redundancy system works like this. And that is where you have, let me get my laser pointer up, where you have a couple of controllers linked together, and then as you go from X80 drop all the way around, it's basically a ring like this. And that works great, and we are not discontinuing this. However, there are some people that want to actually do more of a redundant star configuration, and this is where PRP comes in. And there are some advantages as far as reliability is concerned. So really, this is 2 offers that we are doing. So what happens here is we come out here with our standard loop network over RSTP, and then the PRP switch converts it over to PRP. Your downstream Ethernet switches can be the same. There's nothing special about these. And then we got new CRA modules. So it's new PRP CRA modules and new Ethernet switches that are coming out. So some key takeaways on this is the ring redundancy is still available. Like I said, PRP just strengthens the offer. The choice of ring or PRP can be a little bit tough, so I would suggest you work with your SAE for help. The BME CRA 31310 and its H variant is being launched as we speak. The red switch is estimated coming out in second quarter, and I'll be honest with you here, this device is actually fine. The thing that is holding it up, that's not allowing it to sync with the CRA module as far as launch, is there's an additional piece of paperwork that we owe the FCC. So that's the only thing that's delaying it, is we got to just talk that over with them and get something straightened out. So Control Expert, there's been a new version release, 16.1. It's got Topology Manager, which is our name for multi-user functionality. Also has support for Edge IO NTS, the Red CRA, firmware 4.30. Now, one thing to know is 984 ladder logic is available now on all M580 controllers. It doesn't mean you can talk to the Quantum IO directly. I think you can only do that on level 4 and higher controllers. But if you want to program 984 ladder logic in our level 1 controller, go for it. So BME ECN 0100H is also supported. That is our Edge control node, which is really kind of cool. It's kind of a Linux box. You can put stuff in there that you want to put in. And then also Topology Manager for the NOR module is coming out. So take a look at the release notes or talk to an SAE for a full list of improvements, but those are kind of the key ones. Now the Edge IO NTS, this is kind of what I want to talk about mostly. So what does this do? This is a brand new distributed IO line, and it's designed for the next 10 to 20 years. What that means is that we worked with our chip manufacturers, and the demands and the requirements that we had for developing this, the things we wanted to have as far as the features, required these chip manufacturers to do one of two things: either develop new chips that they guaranteed they would keep for the next 10 to 20 years, or for these chip manufacturers to guarantee they would stay up online for the next 10 to 20. So this thing is really designed for the next 10 to 20 years of demand, of performance. We try to even approach the next 10 to 20 years of cybersecurity, if you can believe that. So what we're going to be doing is we got several things that are coming in as far as cybersecurity is concerned. You'll notice it's OPC, UA, timestamp network across the back bus. We got TPM in the head, device genuineness. So yeah, this thing is really future ready. We got 9 patents filed on this thing. So we're really proud of it. So what is it? It's pretty robust. We got standard hardened temperature ranges. You can see the rest of this stuff designed for a variety of locations. This thing is also designed to really be the next generation. So 16 bits on all of our analog modules. As I'd said before, OPC UA, several different embedded functions such as synchronous bus. You see we got cam switch, high-speed counters, integrated HART on the analog I/O coming out, field device masters, including I/O link master, Modbus can open, safety modules. So you see it's going to be pretty robust when it comes out. Now, the other neat thing about, okay, I'm getting ahead of my own presentation. So we're designed for reliability. So here I want to point out to the left how this kind of works. So each module has a base, the module itself, and then the terminal block. And you can order all 3 parts separately if you want to. You'd be crazy to do it that way, but you can. The other thing that you can do, which makes ordering a little easier, is if you have a part number and you put a K on it, what that means, or K on the very end of it, what that means is now you get the module and its associated base at the same time, and they're plugged in together as it comes from the factory. So every one of these quote unquote kits is the base module designation number, just with a K on the end of it. So we've tried to make ordering a lot easier. So once again, we got hot swap, power redundancy, ring network, works with the redundant M580. And so the other really neat thing about this is a lot of our offerings before have either been for end user, for OEM, or whatever, and that's been a hard divide. But we've heard feedback from you guys that that's not really the way the real world works. And so this is the first hardware platform to bridge everything. If you're going to use Automation Expert, this works with that. You like Control Expert, works with that. Do you like Machine Expert? It works with that. As well as these main 3 softwares we also have an Edge IO configurator software so that you can use Edge IO with anybody else's, such as Rockwell, GE, whoever else you may want to work with. And then if you don't have any of these softwares, but you do have the Edge IO in front of you, you can plug into it and configure it over the web interface. So you can see there are 5 ways to actually get this thing to program right. And it really is a bridge between our machine and our end user technologies. So that's really kind of neat that it crosses all those barriers. This thing's got a large portfolio. I'm not going to go into it all the way down to the nth degree. So we got 2 different sizes. One's 30 millimeter by 121, and the other one is 15 millimeters across by 100 millimeters down. So you can see kind of how size it is. If you look at this picture here, you get an idea of just exactly how many modules are coming out. Well over 100. I counted over 185 modules will be released by about this time next year. Right now, we only have 76 available, but those have been available since the last week or so. So this thing is hot right off the presses. So I really want to talk about a little bit how it talks into machine architectures. So you've got Syracuse that we can program on, as well as Modbus TCP and Ethernet IP. So it functions on both of these networks equally well. Now, as far as the plant structure, it's the same Ethernet IP Modbus TCP module, so it's not a big difference. But what I want to point out here is in the past, if you had a remote IO network ring hooked up to x80 IO, and you wanted to put distributed IO in that same ring, you had to have isolation switches put in. But with Modicon Edge IO NTS, we no longer need that. So you can have remote IO and distributed IO mixed on the same Ethernet wireway without additional switches for isolation. So we think that's pretty cool and will actually save you some cost as well as free up some panel space for you. So the cybersecurity is where this thing really breaks free, okay? The level of cybersecurity that we have applied to this device, the same level that you see on controllers, no one, and I repeat this, no one in the distributed IO platform can beat our cybersecurity, okay? Not only does it comply with the IEC 62443 standard, the GDPR, the State Bill 327 out of California, but we've designed this thing for the Cyber Resiliency Act. Now, I'm near the end of my presentation, so I'm going to take a quick dive down into the Cyber Resiliency Act because my bet is most of you have not heard of this. So the Cybersecurity Act is an EU regulation. It is for anything that's software or hardware, anything that can connect over a network from a wireless headset like what I've got on, iPods or whatever, all the way up to servers and everything else. So this is for anybody that wants to sell into the European Union. And in the global world that we live in, what this basically means is any of us big automation suppliers that are trying to approach a global marketplace, we have to comply with this. So even though it is a European regulation, an EU regulation only, in reality, since most of us are selling into that marketplace, it now has effectively become a global standard. And so it basically details we must do risk assessment, which large companies like ourselves are already doing, but small ones may not. We got to be responsible for the product security. We got to do updates. We got to do mandatory reporting of incidents to the European cybersecurity people. And the whole goal is to decrease vulnerabilities. So Edge IO was designed with this in mind. Older platforms of IO as well as older platforms of PLCs, the manufacturers have to go back and readjust and make sure they comply with this. So, but Edge IO has got it right from the start. So in summation, Edge IO saves time, reduces cost, increases flexibility, and is really data-driven for cybersecurity and is designed for the next 10 to 20 years minimum. With that, I think I am finished, and I will pass it back to Lou. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you, Grant. I appreciate that. If take a look at the chat, it seems like some people have access to the Q&A. Some people chat. Just if you can go monitor the chat and the Q&A, I'd appreciate it. I answered some, but some still has to be answered. We're going to keep moving on some of these questions because we want to get to the bulk of it, which is AI. And so before we introduce our keynote speakers here, I wanted to ask a question to another poll here, right? Is first of all, how many people have played with AI or ChatGPT? And so let me go ahead and launch that. And while that's going, let me go ahead and introduce Malini and Garang, if you want to come on.
Yep. Hello. Hi, everybody.
Good morning. Good morning. We're so excited to have you guys here today. I was wondering if maybe you guys could just spend time just introducing yourselves and what team you work for.
Yeah, thank you. And it's an honor and pleasure to be part of this group today, sharing about the exciting work that we're doing about AI. My name is Malini Nambiar. I'm part of the CTO office, the Director for Digital Customer Innovation from the Industrial Automation business. And I have Gaurang with me. I don't see him on on camera
Ye-
though, but Gaurang,
He's
if you're
there.
if okay, all right.
Yeah,
So,
I'm here only.
so I also have Gaurang with me, who is part of my team, and Gaurang will take you, more deep inside the information about the Copilot. Gaurang, you want to quickly introduce yourself before we go ahead?
Yeah, yeah, sure, Malini. So thanks, Luis, first of all, to now having us here in this call. And Malini already introduced about our team. So I'm part of the same team, a CTO office, and I'm kind of working as a innovation leader, and I have around 13 years of experience in the field of industrial automation. And as we go further, I mean, you will come to know that what are the different solutions in AI that we are working on, and we are focusing on bringing these technologies to the industrial software so we can enhance the user experience at the same time we streamline the industrial processes. So that's what we do, and yeah, looking forward this interactive and informative session ahead. Thank you.
Awesome. So just FYI, I closed the original poll, which is how many people have played with AI, and 78% have, and 22% no, 158 responses. So that's pretty good. I'm adding another question because I've done these tours across the US and I've asked people about, have you played with ChatGPT? And then all controls people. And then I ask them if they played with it inside of our business in programming and stuff like that. And actually very few have. So I'm very interested to see this answer. For those of you who have played with the AI or ChatGPT, have you played AI in automation and programming for in what we do every day? So I'm going to give a couple of seconds for that, and then we'll get going. Okay, so out of so far 130 responses, just to give an FYI, 73% no, have not. And that's generally what I see across the US, so it's not surprising. So this is going to be a very good presentation for you guys. So I'm going to go ahead and close that. And all right, so you guys want to go ahead and continue?
All right. Thank you. So yes, thanks for those questions, Lou. I think it's very evident that we have a lot of scope to bring in AI into the industrial automation space, and that's what we're starting to do here at Schneider Electric. Moving forward, a quick glimpse of what we want to cover today. So I'll start with giving you a brief introduction of our work, our vision of how we want to bring in AI into our offer portfolio. And also, so it's AI and generative AI, and it of course deserves a special mention for reasons I think we all know. Then Gaurang will take you through the 1131 code generation Copilot. Now, what he will show you here is a Copilot that we've generated for another offer of ours, which is Machine Expert. And here we are almost in the stage where we are going to test with our early bird customers. However, we want to bring this also to the Control Expert offer, and this is why we're here today also to share with you and also seek your feedback about what kind of pains that you see, or you want to circumvent using AI. And we have some pain hypothesis that Gaurang will validate together with Lou on that. And of course, that's going to be our main topic today. So let me jump into what we're doing in Schneider. So when we started discussing and understanding the importance of AI and what it can actually do, we started looking at different areas, how we can benefit in which different, the architecture. So you're familiar with this area where we are having the EcoStruxure architecture spread across the different layers, the apps and analytics, the edge control, and the connected products. And here we identified, if you look at the different phases of the software, or the application development, we have the AI, which is going around in the AI enhanced software and tools. So that's one category. There's insights, which means that based on historical data, the AI model can actually bring you some insights, hidden insights, as we call it, in order to make some recommendations and make some changes in order to improve your operations. We have AI optimized edge control, and this is where we start working on in parallel with AI models and the control program interacting in close collaboration in order to make effective actions, based on decisions that are driven from the AI model, and then of course bringing AI further down into the devices. Now here we have, so based on these four categories, we have started to look at several different applications or use cases, and some of them are listed here. I will not go through all of them, but just give you a few examples on the AI enhanced software and tools. We have the first project here around design optimization of our multi-carrier, where we build in optimize. So AI helps us to generate a very optimized motion profile, which otherwise takes a lot of time and expertise in order to build, right? And so that is eased out. That effort is augmented with AI there. The next two applications are talking about using generative AI for code generation. So this one is code generation. This one is going step further, and you'll see a demonstration that Lou shares with you. This is about generating the entire application, starting from the documentation all the way up to the test cases. We also have HMI migration consuming AI, wherein we use image recognition in order to convert HMI screens from an external project inside Schneider HMI applications. On the right, you'll see similar applications. There's predictive maintenance for our hoisting applications. There's forecasting of thermal load for a certain district. That's another one. Optimization of fluids in a CIP, clean in place process that we're doing with another partner who's supplying sensors with us, for us, that is H2OK. Yield optimization, quality control with vision. So this is basically end of product line inspection, where we use a camera and the images are passed on to the controller, and decision is taken based on AI model predictions as to whether the quality of the product is a good or a bad, or there are anomalies, etc. Right. So these are about these are those use cases. Then on the devices as well, we have started to look at ATV Predict. This is one of our offers where we look at automatic configuration of pumps. The next step is also about identifying anomalies, etc. So overall, we are covering with a gamut of a lot of use cases here, all the areas of our architecture. And this is just the beginning, right? So many of these are in the making. They're towards, some of them are already to the fag end, but once again, today what we're going to bring you is more about the code generation. So that's basically from generative AI. Now, when generative AI was introduced, and this was the first application was from ChatGPT, it really set us thinking about what can we do and how can we leverage Gen AI in the industrial space. And to our surprise, or maybe no surprise, we found so many use cases. So you see here, we can apply Gen AI to generate control design, instantiation of assets, programming assistance, documentation, unit test creation, optimization of existing code, acceleration. There are also AI accelerators which are available now, which can amplify the compute time or the performance and reduce the compute time required, operator assistance. So all of these are in our radar to cover, but we start with certain use cases, and we have a vision of a single copilot. So here you will see some examples of what we've already started. So I talked about the code generation, machine expert, application generation, assistive help, but all of this will sit together in one space. So the copilot will change functionality based on where the user is, right? Based on the user context. So that's our vision going forward, to introduce copilots in order to augment our efforts moving forward. So let's next look at or have a deep dive of the code generation in 1131 that has been already achieved for machine expert offer, and we can draw parallels for control expert from there. So for that, I hand it over to Gaurav. Gaurav, you can take it away from here.
Sure. Thank you, Malini. Hello everyone, and so far we have seen how the AI can bring more in a different phases or different the stages of the industrial automation, and how we can leverage as a broad picture. Now we dive into a deeper into a specific use cases, which is a code generation, and which is really exciting. But before we go there, there are a few things that maybe we should or we want to hear from you, because I saw that there are a large number of experts with a strong and with strong background and experience in the field of industrial automation and PLC programming. So it's a great opportunity for us to directly hear your preference, right? So let me start with the one question. So the first question, which is for you, is when you look at any program, what qualities and what factors that you would want to be there in the program? So what factors that you value most when you look at any program? So here, for example, the simple to understand. So program should be simple and easy to understand, easy to maintenance. It should be a modular, or it should be a standardized, consistent variable. It should use the minimum global variables in order to reduce the communication load or the latency time on the network. The program should be commented and documented well, and it should validated, or it should be object oriented. So these are the few factors. Feel free to add some more factors based on your experience, and you can use chat for that if you have anything apart from this. So let's take a 10-second pause and go through this question.
So, in the interest of time, Garang, let's just keep moving. I'll stop at the poll in about 10
Sure.
seconds. So, and that's
I
a
think
rank,
that's a
by
good
the way. You drag and drop it, you move it. It's a ranking, so just drag and move your answers. Then
Yeah, sure. Okay, so let's go to the next thing, which is the challenges. So when we look at the challenges, because most of us in this group, we love programming, we love coding, right? But there are a few things that really bothering us, that's really frustrating, right? So for example, if we want to understand the code, the old code which we have written few months or few years ago, and also some code which was written by other engineers. So if we want to really understand those code, it takes time. But also sometimes it's a bit tedious and frustrating, right? So this is the one challenge. There could be another challenge related to testing the code. So for example, if we make a small changes, it's always recommended to go and test the whole program to check and to ensure that the functionality, other part of the program works perfectly. So this is the one thing. And if we have some issue, some logic issue, some tag issue, so it adds more burden on the engineers, because it needs time and it takes kind of no effort to identify the issue and fix the issue. So these kind of challenges that we usually face. Sometimes when there is a change in the plant, or there is some modification in the plant or in some equipment type, or it could be anything, and in that case the program has to adapt that kind of changes, that kind of modification. This could be in the logic, this could be in the equipment type, as I mentioned, or it could be anything, right? So when we do this modification in the program, we also need to make sure that the other part of the program doesn't get disturbed, right? So this kind of the seamless integration is a key for this kind of activities, and it requires kind of the huge significant expertise in the programming. So that's the challenging. So not only knowing and the maintaining the programming standards and best practices throughout the programming, but also as an engineer or as a programmer, we are also expected to be well aware and to have enough knowledge about the software development environment that we are using. So we should know that what are the libraries, what are the function blocks there are there, and how to use them, right? So this is the basic expectations on us when we do a programming. So these are the few challenges that we identified, that we validated with the few other engineers and programmers. But now here, let's you have a chance to share your views, right? What problems that you face when you do programming, what kind of no things that you don't like. I mean, which is kind of gives you a least enjoy or least happiness when you do the programming. Right, so few examples that we have given in here, like programming of repetitive tasks, writing a complex logics, understanding the old program, understanding and using the existing library function blocks, program testing, debugging, and maintaining the programming standards. So these are the few examples, but feel free to give your the examples and your challenges. You can mention in the chat as well. Okay, I take a 5-second pause here. Okay, now let's go to the another question, which we kind of know looking at, if we look at the whole automation life cycle. So if we break into 6 phases, starting from designing and selecting the right component, configuration of those devices, programming, deployment, diagnosis, and maintenance. So these are the 6 phases of the automation life cycle. And if you have to choose or rank them based on the challenges or based on the the issue that you face, based on the importance, or maybe based on the your interest, right? So for example, if you ask me, so I would say maybe programming is something that I really love most, but this is something that also gives me more trouble than other phases. So you can pick those things, and then you can rank them accordingly. Okay, so let's go to the next section of this presentation. So far we have talked about the problems, obstacles related to programming related activities. Now let's shift our attention to another exciting part of today's presentation, which is a solution. So here we are thinking about how we can enhance programming experience by leveraging the advanced technologies like generative AI. Right, and here our focus still remain to elevate the level of programming and bring it to the next level by making the program more efficient, more reliable, and more enjoyable. So now let me introduce a solution called Automation Application Copilot. The solution which acts as a single source, human-centric, personalized industrial platform, and it brings a brand new perspective and support us when there is a problem and to overcome the problems or the challenges that we have seen in the previous slides. So with the capabilities such as the utilization of our old code, the utilization of the Schneider Electric strength in terms of libraries, in terms of codes. So it utilize all these things, and it generates the more contextual code out of it. So not only the code, but also it can test these codes, it can fix the bugs, first identifies and then fix the bugs. And imagine all this in a single software development environment. So it's like having a brilliant programming partner at your end for 24/7. So before we go and we jump on the demonstration, let's just go through the what values that it can bring. If we have a Copilot at our end, what the value that we can achieve, what the goals we can achieve. So for example, this Copilot simplifies the complex programmings. So if the program is too complex, and if you want to write a program, or if the functionality is too complex, right? The operation is too complex. So it helps us to provide us the guidance step by step, and that's how we can do this programming very simply with simplification by following those steps. So that's the simplification of the programming. Another is testing and debugging, which becomes more faster, more reliable, and stress-free, because it's kind of providing that generate the test cases and guide us that how to test these scenarios. So these different scenarios it generates and provide us help us to go through those scenarios. So it's like two experts collaborating on the single program, ensuring the quality, and ultimately it boosts our confidence, right? If we make sure that a program runs the way we want, the way we expect. For those who are still learning the ropes, so for them, the Copilot acts as a personal coding coach, which suggests and guides throughout the different best practices, the different industry standards, and nuances of programming languages. And the documentation, because we know that sometimes it's kind of the tedious task, and it requires the manual effort. So here we can leverage this generative technology, which generates the comprehensive documents, which not only gives the documentation of the programming, but also it explains the logics in the form of, let's say, the flow diagram that you will shortly you will see it running online when we go into a demonstration mode. So it provides this kind of documentation, functional descriptions, and device mapping, and many other things that we can generate with these capabilities. The Copilot also proactively identifies the problems and the bugs in the program, the anomalies in the program, and it's like we are having a extra set of eyes, always scanning the programs and identifying those problems. So we just ensure that the program is robust and error-free. So this is the proactiveness that we can leverage with the Copilot. And the last, but which is the one of the best thing is, all these things we don't need to be a seasoned expert to leverage these incredible capabilities of Copilot. So we can use this Copilot, and it can empower every level of the engineers. The novice to the expert. It generates the value to all level of engineers. So these are the values. Now let's go to some exciting things, which is the demo of today's Copilot. So here in this demonstration, we're gonna look at how we can generate a code just giving the prompt. When it generates the code, it also considers the different libraries that we have already tested, validated. So it's a kind of very trustworthy code it can generate. Also, it explains the codes in a different ways, line by line, or some part of the program, and also it generates the test cases. So let's go there. And Luis, would you be able to share your screen? And
yeah, absolutely. Actually, this is the most exciting part that I'm excited about. So what we're showing you right here is the automation application Copilot, and we're going to show you it embedded in the software later on. And so anyway, what I want to show you, this is the Copilot, and what we have here on the right-hand side is my Copilot window. That's my dialog window that I can ask the Copilot to do something for me. And on the left-hand side will obviously be the output of that code. So really simply, I'm going to walk you through a development of an application. And so in the interest of time, so I don't have to type this out, I did it in Word, a real simple water type of application. I've asked it to please write a PLC program to control 2 pumps in a water pump station. Pump 1 should go on when well is greater than 50%. Pump 2 should go on when well is greater than 80%. Sound an alarm when the well is greater than 90%, and the pump should go off when they get down to 20% and the well is 15 feet deep. Very simple application, probably too simple, but I just wanted to give you an example. But pretty much almost everybody works with water at some point in their life, in their automation life. So I'm just going to copy that, and I'm going to move that over, and ask it in the Copilot to please create this. And by the way, I for those of you out there, for my AI, I always try to be polite with my AI, so I always start with please. I've seen Terminator, and it doesn't end well in that movie. So I'm going to be nice to my AI. I'm going to ask it, please generate this code. And so now what it's doing is it's going to go down. It's going to check what I've asked it to do. It'll also check to see if I have any libraries that it can pull from. You can ignore this. This is a feedback that it asked me. We have an internal, because it's still somewhat of a beta here, or an alpha. Anyway, it's developing the code. I'm not going to go through the code and the accuracy of the code here today. You'll just have to take my word for it that it's pretty darn accurate, pretty amazing of how accurate it is. But I want to point your attention to a couple of things. One, it developed obviously all the variables, and then it also documents the variables. Anything with a double slash line here has the documentation of that variable, and it does that throughout the program. But what's cool is that on this AI Copilot, we mentioned before it's generative. What we mentioned before is I've created a dialogue with it. So I wanted to do different things, and so now I've created this base program, and now as a programmer, I want to start adding to it. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask it, hey, please modify to allow the users to enter the on-off set points, and I'll go ahead and copy that and paste that back in here. And what you're going to see is the second iteration of the program, and it's going to add the user-defined points that are in here. My set points associated with it. And again, it completes the rest of the program that's on here. Delete this. But that's cool too. So let's go and take a look at. I want to do one more thing. I want to modify the tags to have each operator enter the set point with the prefix HMI, right? Because maybe I don't like these user-defined variables. So I'm going to ask it to go ahead and modify it. But a couple of things I want to point out here is that my first ask was that the user shall be able to define some points, and there's user points that are in here. But notice in my ask of it is I said, have each operator entered set point. It knows this Copilot is in our business, so it knows that an operator entered set point is the same as a user entered set point. It may not seem big, but those of you who have been programming for years know that you usually need to make some type of reference to each other, but it automatically knows that. And you can see it changed my tags, added my HMIs in front of the tags, and left them as the user-defined threshold for the thing, which again I find pretty amazing. So let's go ahead and ask it to do something a little bit more difficult, right? So please add a valve to each pump. The valve should open 5 seconds before the pump starts, and then close when the pump goes off, right? And then I can go ahead and now ask it to do that, and it'll then generate the code. It'll add the valve variables. It'll document it, and it'll make the code do exactly what I've asked it to do. Again, which is pretty darn amazing. A lot of grunt work that people would do to create this is now really done for you. And one of the things I wanted to point out is that, again, we could create this. The goal is to be able to create logic around, let's call it a pump station, or maybe call it a multi-pump control station for you, right? Maybe in your applications you have something, and maybe you repeat that over and over again. Well, the idea, the long-term strategy is that you'll be able to create a library of this code, save it, and create a library so that when somebody in your business asks for the pump to do a new pump station, for example, or another pump control, it'll say, hey, do you want me to use this library? You'll say, yeah, I do want you to use that library. That's our defined library. It's already validated. And that's actually pretty cool. Let's look at, by the way, over here, this number. You can see the iterations that as I've been going through and asking it to do different things, it saves the copy. So you can kind of go back and see the different copies that we have here. I can then copy it and paste it someplace else. But a couple of things I want to notice up top. We have generate, which we just did. We just generated program based on a conversation that's here. And then we also have explain, right? And so there's a lot of use cases out there, where we get a program and we're not really sure, maybe it's not documented properly. And we're not really sure how it operates, or maybe I lost the description items and I just have the code, or maybe it was somebody else that developed it and it's spaghetti code. You have no idea how it works. Well, the idea here, explain, is that it evaluates the code and makes the connections and will document it for you. So I'm going to go ahead and take the code that that it just developed for us. And I'm going to go ahead and generate a detailed summary. And again, I would do this with a, maybe some logic that you guys have and is currently being, you don't know what it's doing. Go ahead and go through this. And let me come down here, and you can see that it's taken the logic and it's actually, created a diagram to have you show the flow diagram here of how this program is actually working. And, if you didn't have the variable names, at least you'd be able to see the connection threads. And then as you started to add these variables and these IO variables and build out your program, the documentation of your program again, these would all fill in. And I think that's pretty cool. In addition, you have the explanation of the code. So it'll take, lines 1 and 2, right? That's the program. It begins by declaring the variables, right? And then it decides these declare the current well level. And you can see how it just breaks it out on and on, breaks out the program for the different documentations and what it does. Again, which is pretty darn amazing. And then the third scenario, and we're not really going to go into this too much, but and maybe Garang could expand on this a little bit. It's a test. So in case there are, not only can it develop your code, but it can develop test code to test your existing code that you just developed, which is, again, pretty darn amazing, right? And so you have the three kind of use cases along with this automation copilot. And I don't know if there's this might be a bunch of questions in the chat. I don't know if anybody's looking at this. Yeah, so pretty cool stuff. I think that's all I wanted to go through from that's all the logic I wanted to go through for today. So Garang, do we want to go ahead and play that video? I can go ahead and do that.
Yes, Luis. Yeah, you can go ahead and play. But before that, just give the context that we have seen these three features and capabilities of Copilot. Now we are showing the concept that we define to have to utilize or to leverage this technology and to use this Copilot to generate the full complete application. So right now we are generating only code and test cases, but if we have a Copilot by our side, then how we can use it to do many more things. So that's what the video will explain us.
Yeah, I just want to include the sound and come back again. So I'm not a big fan of showing videos or whole videos, but I'm going to see when you're going to look at this video, this is actually working live in the software. Every bit of it is pretty exciting. It's a 6-minute video, but you're going to see a lot of different things that it can do in the program. So let me go ahead and start it.
If he would like to create a new HMI symbol.
Hold on. Sorry.
Welcome to a demonstration of Automation Application Copilot, an AI-enhanced engineering efficiency user experience approach leveraging the power of generative AI. In this video, we will demonstrate how Mike, an application engineer, can easily build a complete automation solution using this intelligent copilot. Mike needs to build a milk reception automation solution for a yogurt plant. He has received the end-user specification and other artifacts like the P&ID, I/O details, and control narrative documents. Mike launches EcoStruxure Automation Expert and selects the option to add a new automation solution. He selects the option to create with Copilot and uploads the artifacts received from the end user. On clicking Analyze, the Copilot analyzes the information from the various artifacts and proposes an automation solution structure which can be reviewed and revised by Mike. The Activity Wizard tab recommends the various steps required to create the control application. Mike would like to begin by creating the control for raw milk reception and prompts the Copilot to build the control application. As a first step, it starts instantiating the assets. For the Valve V103 asset, the Copilot asks Mike to confirm his preference for using existing libraries or creating a new asset template. Based on Mike's selection, the Copilot creates the Valve V103 asset as a customized asset and saves it as an asset template for future use. Based on end-user artifacts analyzed, the Copilot identifies a mismatch in the asset tagging in the P&ID and process specification artifacts. It prompts Mike to review the asset tags and make necessary corrections. Mike realizes that the PS103 asset is tagged incorrectly in the process specification and corrects it to PS103. Mike is pleased that the Copilot can highlight areas needing his review and expert inputs. Once the assets have been instantiated, the Copilot starts creating the control sequences. Based on the process specification, the Copilot identifies the sequences for raw milk reception. The Copilot generates a control narrative preview that Mike can conveniently review alongside the P&ID, process specification, and asset tag list. Once confirmed, the Copilot generates the control sequences. While reviewing the generated start sequence, Mike is pleased to discover how effortlessly he can compare the sequence transition logic with the control narrative. Mike is satisfied with the generated sequence and confirms integrating it into the main control application. The Copilot identifies the absence of process description for critical sequences like abort, hold, suspend in the process specification. It prompts Mike to confirm if he wishes to create these sequences. Mike decides to create an abort sequence. He describes the abort sequence logic to the Copilot, and the Copilot generates it. Once reviewed by Mike, it is integrated into the control sequence. The Copilot also adds interlock conditions on Mike's prompt. Once the control sequence edits are completed, Mike confirms the generation of the process supervision page. The Copilot begins generating the HMI symbols. For missing HMI symbols, Mike is asked to confirm if he would like to create a new HMI symbol or customize the symbols in the existing library. Mike confirms to customize the LFL valve symbol, and the corresponding symbol is generated by the Copilot. Once the process supervision page is generated, Mike is asked if he wishes to auto-generate test cases. Once generated, Mike chooses to execute the test cases. The Copilot executes the tests and identifies that some of the test cases failed. Mike reviews the troubleshooting recommendation provided by the Copilot and corrects the code. The tests pass. When executed again, Mike is delighted that he could swiftly resolve the issue and avoid hours of troubleshooting thanks to the root cause recommendation provided by the Copilot. As a final step, Mike is prompted to confirm if he would like code documentation to be generated in a format of his choice. He selects the operator manual format, and the Copilot generates the manual based on the automation solution. Mike reviews the operator manual and selects the option to save it in the solution repository for future reference. Mike is pleased that he was able to efficiently create the automation solution, reducing manual effort and avoiding repetitive activities. The Copilot assisted him in adding complex functionalities in simple steps and improved reuse of existing libraries and function blocks. It also enabled him to easily validate the generated application against the end user's specifications. With this, Mike was able to focus on the more critical aspects of design and engineering requiring his expertise, thus improving his productivity while empowering him to deliver industrial automation solutions much faster. With the power of generative AI, OEMs and system integrators can shift from the traditional manual engineering requiring significant expertise and effort to 100% engineering thus enabling high levels of workforce productivity, agility, and faster time to ship.
Okay, so I think I'm hoping that most of you guys found that pretty amazing. A couple of things I wanted to highlight out of there. Let me stop. Okay. Can I get off of this? Okay, so the couple of things I wanted to highlight. One is, first they added in my little demo, I typed in what I wanted to do, and that's a dialogue that you can create, and that's certainly definitely a use case where you can start from the very beginning and start beginning to talk to your AI and have them develop. The other use case is that you already have documents. You have the sequence of operation. You have in a PDF or a Word document. You have an I/O list in an Excel document. You'd have a PNID drawing in a PDF drawing, for example, a PNID drawing, in a PDF, and then maybe some other supporting documents. You loaded all those things up, and you saw how the AI actually caught errors. Right, there was mismatch of some variables that were there, which, well, we know that doesn't ever happen. But yeah, so it caught that stuff, and it asked you, hey, I got this issue here. I find that pretty amazing and extreme time savings. It asked him about asking, like, if you wanted to add an abort sequence to his logic, right? So it made a recommendation for him in his programming task. And then lastly, which I also find amazing, and I think that's where we're heading, is that it generated the HMI drawing for him based on the PNID drawings and maybe some other supporting documentation. And so if you let your mind wander, while we're talking about the basic programming tasks today, if you let your mind wander, this is the technology that's out here available today in 2025. In fact, it's not available right now, right? This is stuff we're showing you, almost like a pre-release version of this. And if you let your mind wander to what this technology will be like 5 years from now, 10 years from now, it's pretty staggering. And so when I started this conversation today, I had mentioned to you that this is a game-changing technology in what we do as automation people, and it absolutely will be. And it comes along at probably a pretty good time. I mean, if you love doing the actual programming and going through each tedious task of programming, then maybe this is not for you. The genie is out of the bottle. It's not going back. Unfortunately or fortunately, I think we're progressing. And so this is kind of amazing technology. But if you think about the workforce, and we have a hard time finding automation people in our business. And as I go across the US, I know system integrators have the same problem and users have the same problem. We're not developing controls engineers any longer. And so this is kind of like removing some of that tedious task of people who are not controls engineers to develop and have them focus on more higher value items. That's where I see it. That's where I see it going. I think it's going to be amazing with this technology. It's kind of like the stuff that you used to see in sci-fi movies is now actually coming true, right? It's coming true. So yeah. So a couple of different things. I saw some questions on here. I don't know if there was any other questions that were open that we wanted to ask, but some questions were like, hey, was that EAE? And yes, that was EAE, but the intention is to do machine structure in 1131 and the same thing with control expert. And I believe the time frame is Malini, I think it's 2025, correct? Is it sometime in 2025?
For which one? For machine expert?
Machine expert, yep.
Yeah, we're doing an early bird release, hopefully in Hanover, and post that we have a launch in 2025, mid of 2025.
And then we're still working on the control expert side, and I don't know if we have a date for that yet.
Not yet, but yeah.
Yeah, and we have to sync with the releases of Control Expert and all this other stuff. So but that's coming. It's coming soon. There was a question in there to ask me, can I take that code and download it into Control Expert? I'm going to say yes, with some caveats to it. And anyone who's done Control Expert knows that structured text, the comments are not // they're actually 2 stars to it. So you'd have to change the comments to be 2 stars. We don't have to declare the variables. So yes, the structured text works, but you're going to need a little cleanup. So if you wanted to use this today and just do a copy and paste, I could do it, but it just needs to be cleaned up a little bit. And those are the things that we're going to work on. I don't know if anybody saw any other questions in here that we can ask, or that I can answer. Let's see, new posts. Let me see. Okay. Yes, I will share. I've seen a number of things on here. We will share the recording of this. It'll be on my LinkedIn page. It'll be posted on YouTube. Just give me a couple of weeks for that to get it loaded. It's got to go through our marketing team for that. And with that, Malini, Garang, do you have anything else that you'd like to?
Yeah, I would like to share a couple of slides just to give the more, the benefit side of this Copilot.
Absolutely,
So,
go ahead.
Yeah, let me share my screen. Okay, so we have seen in this last video, we have seen how Copilot can help us throughout the whole process of project development. Starts with the artifacts, the analysis, come up with some solution structure, proposal, and then we have to review and we have to revise. It helps us to instantiate the assets configuration, also providing the control sequence. Then we have to review, so we just make sure that this works as per the project requirement. It helps us also to customize the HMI symbols very fast, and testing and troubleshooting we have seen, and at the end we can document all this stuff and we can store it at the central repository, giving the versions. So that's how we can keep the record of all the modifications and changes that we have made. So this is a complete summarize of this video. Now, if we look at what are the benefits that we can get if we use this Copilot. So this is very helpful not only for individual but also the team of application engineers, and they can really accomplish their project goals very shorter time frame, because now they can avoid doing the repetitive tasks. They can avoid spending a time in testing, writing the test code, test scenarios, and testing the programs. They can reuse the old libraries or old functions which was already tested and validated. So that's how they can increase their productivities. And based on our the initial research, we can save 40 to 50% of the development time, which time can be utilized by the engineer to focus on other high value tasks and most critical activities. They can also engage in creativity and kind of the innovation or research based activities. So that's how we can increase the productivity as well as the creativity. So here this kind of transformation is not only for the saving the time, but it also attracts and retain the top talents, because the new workforce, the future workforce, mainly the Gen Z workforce, they are more willing to, and they are kind of interested to work with the organization which are at the forefront of the technology, which using the kind of AI drone, and we know, right, the VR, AR, so all these technologies that are there. So these people, this new workforce are more inclined to to go in that organizations. So that's also good kind of the benefits for the organizations to keep the skilled people and to attract the more skilled people in their organization. So if we look at the the availability of this or of these capabilities right now, so we have already developed these 3 features of this Copilot, and we are rapidly working on developing and bringing more features in this the Copilot environment. So for example, the documentation. So we have already discussed we can generate the very comprehensive documents which should include the IO assignments, the programming structure, the logics. the equipment utilizations, the versions, all these things can be done by a few clicks. The code optimization, I saw some message in the chat that spaghetti code, right? So this is something that we have tested initially, and we kind of got a very good result out of it. So it also helps to optimize the code. So for example, the code which is having the old structure, which is having old libraries, function blocks, and too many lines of codes, right? So it helps to streamline the algorithm, to reduce the number of lines, for example, to eliminate the unnecessary loops, if and else loops in the program, for example. So, and also it helps to introduce the latest developed libraries and function blocks, right? So if we have a program like 10 years, 20 years old, we can optimize and we can use the latest library which was developed maybe 1 year or 2 years back, right? So that's how we can optimize the program, which kind of reduce the load on the controller as well. The program extension, which means that if we have some part of the program, if we are extending, for example, adding more valves in the plant, right? So we don't need to reconfigure, rewrite every logics for all the valves. What we can do, we just give the prompt that, okay, this is the valve configuration. Now create us 5 more valves, right? With this kind of configuration. So it make sure that the logics interlocks are well mentioned in the program. So this kind of the extension can be very easy if we have this kind of capabilities. And of course, the application generation, which we have already seen, then how we can generate the complete application, maybe sometimes from scratch or sometimes from the old program or old previous machine program. So we can reuse those programs and we create a complete new applications in a very few time. One thing that is not listed here is the capability, which is kind of if we're working on the prototype, mainly the OEMs, process OEMs, they are testing their the plant's structure, and also they have to change the logic very frequently. So that's how the Copilot can speed up this kind of prototyping activities and really empower the engineers so they can focus on more bringing some more things in their environment. So that's about the capabilities. Now since you know all the features and since you know what the generative AI can do, so based on your experience, if you have to suggest some applications or some use cases in the context of a control expert, so you can very well mention here. So Luis, do we have a poll for a question for this?
Give me a second. Hold on, second.
Yeah, the idea here is to what kind of how the Copilot can help us in control expert, and how we can increase our productivity, how can reduce the time, how can avoid the things that we don't like to do generally in the programming.
I put in the chat. I put in the link to the feedback survey. If you guys could take a look at that, I'd really appreciate it. This helps us get better in what we do every day. Also, if you wanted to see something else on this Modicon user group, we'd love to hear about it. So sorry for the issues here. If you have a phone and you want to use that QR code, please go ahead and use the QR code, or the link is in the chat. If you can just give us a good rating, and feedback, that's great. Also, if you want to be called back on any of the technology that you've seen here today from Grant or from this AI stuff, and you're very interested in it and you want to hear more, please, on that form, you can also leave your name and contact, but you have to leave your name and contact on that portion anyway, because this is an anonymous survey. So if you want to be contacted, please leave your name and contact information. So that concludes our webinar here today, and I want to thank our two presenters, Malini and Gaurang, for presenting. I also want to thank Grant for coming on and doing his little bit with the product marketing stuff. And thank you for joining today. This was a well-attended event, and I'm sure it's top of mind in almost everybody today in the automation field. So thanks again, and we look forward to you. We have a bunch of webinars coming up, one in February and one in March. We have a lot of new technology coming out, and we're going to focus on that technology. Edge is one of them. So again, thank you very much. That concludes our webinar today, and have a great day.